GearBest have sent me the Flytec T18. They call it a mini racing drone. Now, it doesn't fly acro, so I can't really see that it could be a racing drone, to be perfectly honest. It's got a racing drone style, I presume that's really what they mean. It's got 720p camera and it's 120 degree wide angle lens, so that's really good. They're getting better with putting better quality wide angle lenses even on these cheaper quads. This one's around £30 at the moment, and I'll put a link down in the description for you. Obviously I'll run through all the functions and features, but just want to show you it comes fully assembled but in a really good substantial box. So, and we're basically, all you have to do is charge up the battery and we're ready to go. So that's everything out of the box, well, nearly everything. You do get a complete set of 4 props as spares, but I've dropped one behind my desk when I was having a look at it, so I've got it, but it's just behind the desk, so you would get a complete set of 4. The quad itself is really nice, quite a nice little lightweight one, and a little bit different looking as well. So they've got to produce something a bit different, and I think it looks rather smart. The lens looks really nice on it, 120 degrees field of view they quote, so that'll be interesting. And most budget price quads like this usually have a very narrow field of view, so if it is 120, which I'm sure it will be, that will be absolutely brilliant. You've got LEDs at the front, LEDs at the back, and I'll show you those in a second. And onto the actual props, they're really quite flexible, so I don't think this thing would do any damage. It's such a lightweight performer, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't actually hurt anything. And you've got the prop guards as well, they're quite flexible, so they give you a nice little bit of protection there as well. On the front, you could possibly catch something. They usually wrap round a bit more, but I think they've gone more with style than actual functionality with those. You get another body cover for the top. I'm going to leave mine on red, I think it will stand out a bit more, but you can swap it for blue, and I think they do another quad with 2 different other colours as well. You get a 450 milliamp hour single cell battery, and that just slides in the back here. It's a little bit of a fiddle, and it comes right down to that sort of stop point down in there. You just keep pushing it through. The only way then to get it back out is to yank on the actual cables, and I really wouldn't recommend that, so I put a little bit of tape on there so that you can just pull it back out and you're not wrenching these cables in your battery. Not a good practice to do with a LiPo. JSD connector, and simply plug it into the USB adapter, and so you can charge it on mains adapter or your computer or in your car. And when you start to charge, when you plug it in and turn it on, it goes red, and then when it's finished charging, it goes the light goes off, so the LED goes off. It's rather good. I just popped the battery on so you can see the LEDs. They're quite bright actually, they look quite nice. You got red at the front for some peculiar reason, and you got green at the back, so I don't quite know why, but just the way they do it. You get a Phillips screwdriver that you can basically strip the quad down with should you need to, but you shouldn't really need to. And then also it needs a Micr SD card in the back here because it records on board in 720p, so that'd be rather good. But it doesn't come with one, so you do have to supply your own for that. Onto the transmitter itself, and it's a really nice gaming style transmitter, feels actually quite solid in the hand. And then to put your phone on for the FPV, you've just simply got this slide out here, and that slots away really nicely. I do like this design, it's not an unusual one, and it could take a pretty sizable phone. So while the battery is charging, always a good time to have a good look through the instruction manual. This one is excellent and it's really well done. I'm pretty sure it's not been translated from Chinese to English. I think it's written by somebody English, or if not, the translations are getting really good. Run through all the basics, setting up and everything, and I'll run through everything as we go through the review obviously. But if you're new to flying and everything, this will give you a really nice insight into it. And on the back, even the parts have got colour photographs, and you've got the QR codes for the app as well. Really nicely done. For this flight I'm going to use the transmitter, and I'm going to use the app on my phone so that I can actually see what the quad's seeing. So we're basically looking out of this camera on the quad here. That's what comes up on your phone, and this is called FPV, and it stands for first person view, so it's basically the pilot's view if you like.
The transmitter itself, as you can see, is a good gaming style one, really comfy in the hand, and it's for thumbers, which means you place your thumbs on the top. It works pretty well, or you can use it as a pincher as well. Either way, this is quite comfortable. It works really well in both, and it's a really good one to learn on, really, to be honest. These are brilliant. And this is the same on, you know, thousands of pounds worth of quadcopter. This would work exactly the same, the controls. This is a Mode 2 flight controller. So on the left here we've got our throttle, and this is an altitude hold, so it will literally just sit wherever we leave it. The other sticks will center, so this one will center, and this will center from left to right. It will just come back to the middle if we let go. So the throttle will stay wherever we leave it. So if we want to ascend, we simply push the throttle up. That gives us more thrust. If we want to descend, we pull the throttle down and it will come down. This one, if you pull the throttle right off, it will totally kill the motor, so it will literally drop out the sky. So just be careful of that. But if you're in a panic situation, drop it off. If it gets caught in anything, drop them off as quick as you can. Kill that throttle, it's vital. To turn the quad, so it's basically going to turn right or turn left, and that's called yawing. You push this stick to the right and that turns it to the right, and that one turns it to the left. This is your direction stick, so this pitches forward, so the quad will do that and go forward. This pitches backwards, this rolls to the right, and this rolls to the left. So that's all there is to any transmitter. Basically all they do is just add a load of paraphernalia and confusing stuff, but that is basically the basics of flying, and that's all you need to know. And you can fly then. If you can do that, it's a doddle. On this particular model we do have something called headless mode, and you activate that with this button here. Headless mode doesn't take any notice of where the front of the quadcopter is. So when we were flying, as I was showing you a second ago, if I turn the quadcopter around that way and then push forward, forward is still the front of the quad, so it will go in that direction. If it's at that angle and I press forward, it will come at this angle. If it's facing towards me, it will come towards me. So the controls are working from the quadcopter, basically from the quadcopter facing forward, so all the controls work that way. If you press this button and it goes into headless mode, the LEDs will flash, and they keep flashing to warn you that it's in headless mode. Headless mode takes no notice of where the front of the quadcopter is. And your best thing to start off when you bind it and everything, and I'll show you how to bind in a second, is to have them both facing the same way. You bind it all up, and you can put headless mode on before takeoff or in when you've taken off. It won't make any difference at all. Once you press headless mode, if we rotate the quadcopter around, forward is still that way. So if I press forward on the pitch, it will go that way. If I press right, it will go that way. Doesn't matter what angle we're at, it will work that way. So it's, you know, that's why it's called headless. The heading is not where it's going to go. It's just always going to go in those directions. Obviously the yaw works the same. That's just going to rotate it. It's the direction stick it changes for headless mode. It's also got a return to home. You press this one and it will head roughly back to where it started from. It hasn't got a GPS on it, so it's not going to be specific, but it should bring it back close enough. This won't have that much range on it. I don't know why you'd really need the return to home, but it might help you out if you get in a panic situation. And one thing about the return to home, if you press the return to home and it starts coming back or going the wrong way, or you're comfortable to take the controls back over again, you can simply press this button again and it will cancel it, or if you use the direction stick, that will cancel the return to home as well. The other buttons are trim buttons, and if it starts to behave badly, if you've got a bad behaving quad, you know, take it to one side and have a serious chat with it. If it starts flying erratically, or it just constantly drifts, or you've had an accident with it, a good thing to do is to calibrate the gyro on it. That means putting it on a level surface, and obviously you have to bind to it, and I'll show you that in a second. Pull both the sticks down and to the left, you'll get flashing LEDs, and that balances the gyro back out, takes it back, resets it, so that when you fly next time it should be fine. If it's still drifting, then you will need to use the trim buttons here, but invariably resetting the calibration will sort it. This one here changes the rates. It starts in low rates, and then press it once, it beeps twice, it goes into intermediate. Press it again, it goes into high rates, and that will beep 3 times. Press it once again, it comes back round to first rates. This is your camera control, and if you want to record on board, and it's got onboard recording on this one, so you need a micro SD card popped into there. I'll put links down in the description to it. You don't get one with it, so make sure you've got one. And you press it once, you take a still image, and then if you hold it down for a couple of seconds, you get a beep off it, you get flashing LEDs, and then it will start to record on board. If you want to do flips, you simply press this button here, and then you're ready to flip, and it basically, a transmitter will beep at you then and choose what direction you want to flip in, so a forward flip, right, back or left flip. Once it's done that, it comes back to normal flight mode. So what I'm going to do first of all is pop the actual quad on. Now this is an unusual setup on this quad. You can put the quad on, or you can put the transmitter on first of all. It's up to you, it really doesn't matter with this one. If you saw there, we had flashing LEDs and then they go solid. Actually, I'll take that off and I'll show you. So if I plug that in, if I'm moving this, it won't settle down. It won't, because it does a little bit of calibration when you first put it down. So the LEDs are flashing until I actually sit it down, and after a couple of seconds, there we go, and then it will go into solid. So basically it sort of knows it's ready to be bound now. To bind it, you put up and down on the throttle, and then we're bound, ready to go. There is a little switch on the side here, which I thought was the on-off for the quad. It isn't. That turns the onboard camera on or off. And you slide it forward to turn it off, and you slide it backwards to turn it on. I don't really know why it's on there. Apparently it saves you power, but I wouldn't have thought there was that much difference in how much power you're going to use, to be honest. Onto the app, and the quad will have set up its own Wi-Fi hotspot, so this doesn't affect your data roaming, or you don't need to be near a Wi-Fi hotspot or anything like that. This is just purely a link between your phone and the quad, so there's no usage of data or anything. Come over to your Wi-Fi settings, and if this is the first time you've used it, you would need to log on to it. It will come up as Flytec and then a load of numbers. I've already been onto this, checking it out indoors, so it'll rebind to it. It should do automatically. If not, just reconnect there. Then come back, launch the Flytec app, and then go into play. There we go, and then we're live. So wow, that is a seriously wide angle lens. That's really good. I always think the wider the better on these sort of things. Now there's a conflict here going on, because we've got the controls here on the app and we've got the control here. I need to turn these ones off, so you just simply press this button here. They've gone. Now we're back to fully controlling on here. If you start the video on here, I'm pretty sure it will only record onto the actual phone itself, but if you start it on here, it will definitely record it on board. I'd always go this way. I just charged the battery back up to make sure it's got a full charge before we go on our first flight. Let's see how we go. I've got a funny feeling this is going to be no racer. Right, so that's at full pitch in low rates, and as you can see, it's not fast. It's not. I've had slower, to be perfectly honest, but if you're new to flying, slow's good. And like I say, because I've got no altitude hold, as soon as I kill the throttle, it will drop. So you have to keep that throttle up quite a bit. And centre stick is about where it will keep it on hover. Let's pop the video on, so just press that one. And then we do actually count up on here as well. So, and the thing I like about this, you get flashing LEDs on it as well. So believe it or not, red ones at the front, green ones at the back. Oh, weird. Yeah, red should always be at the back, I always sort of feel. And that stays nice and steady on flight, so it's good. Let's try a flip. Whoa, that always looks good on a video. Or just turn it around, we can have a very weird looking tigger. Woo! Well, it does drop quite a lot of altitude when it's when you flip it. It doesn't have a lot of punch out actually, so if you give it full throttle, so just put it down there, full throttle, not really does a lot. It's not a fast quad by any means. Going to pop it up into high rates. Well, that's a bit better, but still no sports model, that's for sure. But again, I think this thing's about 30 quid again. I'm just getting gobsmacked what we're getting for 30 quid. Let's have a look at that lens, saying what we get for 30 quid. Gee whiz, that lens is awesome. I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to swing that around. Yeah, wow. And that's quite close to me as well. God, you could easily get like the house in or something or other if you wanted just a proper selfie. Oh, it's quite, you know, that is good. The lenses are getting better. Everything's getting, oh, that's, there we go. There's a little bit of breeze up the tiniest bit. There we go, so try to do it as it was descending. So pop the video back on again. The headless mode I was talking about, I'm going to pop it into that. So that's right, that's left, forward and back, and that would be normal with the quad in normal mode. But if I rotate it round now in headless mode, that's still forward, that's still back. And you can use angles as well. It doesn't have to be, you know, the 4 points of the compass. You can have any amount you like. The thing you can do with headless is you can go in one direction and spin it, which you can't do in normal mode. Let's try the return to home. I'm just going to pop that over there. Whee, that gets a move on. Ha! That was faster than it was going normally, I think. It's got a turbo boost for home, I think. Let's watch that again. Yeah, it really does. That's peculiar. That is definitely better pitch than I can get using the controls. Yeah, so it's a nice little flight. Let's give it a quick test down. Let's do a little bit of a range test. It's quite a good transmitter here, so I think we'll possibly get 50, 80 metres, something like that. I don't think they quote much more than that, to be honest. And I know if I go down the bottom there, it's 80 metres to the hedge. And I think we're probably, oh yeah, we're getting there. We're going to get drop out on the, yeah, there we go. We've just frozen up on the, whoa. Whoa, I think we were just dropping out on the actual quad as well. About 70 metres I would say that was. And certainly the Wi-Fi was dropping out, which is understandable. About 50 metres is good on normal Wi-Fi. Anyone familiar with the channel will know that there is a Bugs, or if you're interested in long-range Wi-Fi, there is the Bugs 2 by MJXRC, and that thing does, oh, I had 600 odd meters on that on a Wi-Fi on a phone. Incredible. So, and you can use the FPV, so you can use it, I mean that's what it's designed for, is, well, not designed for really, but for racing and things. And there's me wussing out on that. I just went back to line of sight. Let's see whether I can fly it normal. Yeah, there we go. So you could fly it through things. Actually, the Wi-Fi's, yeah, FPV's pretty good on this. It's very nice indeed, actually. And to stop it, you just literally pull the throttle off when it, and because it doesn't have auto landing, auto takeoff, it just dies when it gets on the ground. But mine, because it's always live, so if you put your fingers over it to pick it up, and you touch this, it can always pop up. A little trick somebody taught me was just put your thumb there. You can't possibly then give it any throttle, basically. So it's a really nice little technique. I think I'm going to go and I'll recharge the battery, I think, and then we'll give it a go on the app, I think. But it actually flies really nicely. Good little flyer. And if you're doing video, etc., I would keep it in low rates, and then you can keep it really nice and smooth. Much nicer way of flying for video, I always think. Keep it smooth, unless you want fast and manic sort of thing. But that video works pretty well. It does get a bit of a move on, actually. Oh! I don't know what happened there. It started beeping on this one. Ah, there we go. Yeah, up into third rates. It is actually. I think it's getting more of a move on since it's got warmed up. Oh, perhaps it's the sun encouraged it. In Scotland, it would have to be. Whoops! And quite robust little thing as well. It's not going to take any nonsense off anyone, are you, mate? Not at all. It's a good little flyer. And funnels, oh no, I don't know, the battery is definitely going, oh sorry, it's probably getting flashing LEDs there. I wasn't taking any notice of it. Oh no. You usually get flashing LEDs, means the battery's quite low. So I think it is, yeah, it's full kick out. No, it's still not, so there's quite good flight time as well. I did just stop the video there. So, and the other thing is when you go into headless mode, you'll get flashing LEDs as well. Yeah, it's a nice little setup. Yeah, definitely losing power now. I've given that full throttle and it's not doing anything. Yeah, now we've got really fast pulsing LEDs. Hopefully you can see that. There we go. Let me just get that in the shade. There we go. So that means the battery's getting low. You should definitely bring it into land. But to be honest, I could feel it on the throttle before it even gave me that information. Nice little flyer. This time I'm going to fly it on the app. So just turn your quad on. Go into your Wi-Fi settings and just make sure that you have picked up the Wi-Fi hotspot from the quad. And we have launched the app. And then there's just a Wi-Fi link between the quad and the app. And this is a really unusual thing with this app. I mean, I'm not even recommending you use it while it does this. Watch what happens. When I go into play, it will take off purely, and I've taken the throttle off, so the throttle's the same as we have with the transmitter as well, so the throttle's here on the left. Because it's got altitude hold built into the app, but it will get sent to the stick waiting for a takeoff command normally. But on this particular model, because on the transmitter there's no altitude hold, when you put it into center it will just come up, it will just pump up. So if I let go of this button here, it will pop up, and I can't actually see a way of cancelling it, so a bit weird. Personally, I wouldn't be using this app because of that. It just literally will launch into life. If I let go, there you go, you can see what happens. Everything else works fine on the app. I mean, it's, you know, let's start the video going. But it's kind of worrying that you, that's the way it happens. So I've done a video on how to use the app, so if you do want to use the app, by all means, you know, go and have a look at the video. I'll put a link down in the description for you. The app actually works fine. It's just this thing that it's got the altitude hold with it. I'm going to pop the rates up. They've got the same. That should give us a bit better go. There we go. Because it's sort of got half altitude hold, because that's what the throttle stick sort of is going for. I'm not really understanding why it doesn't do it. It's, yeah. I wouldn't be playing with the app, to be honest. I'm not getting on at all well with it. There we go. If you're going to carry the quad, carry the transmitter. I'm really not getting this at all. It's funny because the last ones I've flown with apps, I've been saying, oh, they're getting so much better, I can fly better and everything. Not with this one. Oh, it still persists. Yeah, really not happy little bunny on this app. Whoa! It does get a shift on though. Yeah, this thing's got very little recovery actually. I'm pressing so hard on my screen now I'm going to dent my phone, I think. Oh well, so yeah, if you want to fly the app, by all means fly the app. It's not something I would recommend by any means. You do have... I can't believe I'm still trying to do the review on it. I hate this thing. It just don't want to really hold. Yeah, fly with the transmitter. You can fly it on your gyro, was what I was going to show you. I'm just going to get fit the giggles now. Yeah, there we go. So you got to keep that throttle so high on this. So you control it whether you roll right or left, forward or back. I'm going to have to turn that off. Yay, so there we go. Well, nothing else on the reviews. I'm persistent, that's for sure. There is a... Oh God, I can't believe I'm going to do this. Yeah, there's actually a journey mode as well. Whey! This just isn't... So you just draw a line basically and it'll go where the line is. Who the heck cares at this level? There we go. Whee! Whee! Even the quad's wondering what's going on, I think. Gonna cancel out of that. Yeah, okay. You got auto land as well. Well, that'll be hilarious. Yeah, see, it's still all that, until I actually kill that throttle, it won't do anything. Let that go, it'll go up, and that's what happens when you turn the app on. It just literally leaps up. So. And believe it or not, it's supposed to 3D flip. Oh, really? We're in for a penny, in for a pound today, aren't we? Not a chance. Hey, it did it! Whee! Right. I always try and be honest with my reviews. Don't use this app. Let me just tell you. They'll probably sort this out, I hope you see. Let me just get myself on camera. Do not use this app. It's rubbish. But the transmitter's so good I won't worry about it. Right, one last quick blast through. Whee! Whee, look at this. Oh, flying like a pro. I was just thinking to myself, not a pro pilot, obviously. Well, oh, now we're taking control now. Look at this. Oh, yeah. Doddle, I was just making a load of fuss about nothing. The app does work, in all truth. I've got to stop that video. We've got flashing LEDs. The only thing is, you can't kill that. I reckon they'll sort that out pretty soon. Pretty soon after they've seen this review, I reckon. There we go. So, you can't say we don't keep persevering on Tigger's RC reviews. Okay, I've found a workaround for the app, and I've bound to the phone as I showed you before. You've got two apps you can use here, Wi-Fi FPV or Wi-Fi UFO. It really doesn't matter, they're virtually identical. And the nice thing about it is this one works with this, so we're live and everything. The video will work. There we go. And then if we turn on the controls, we've actually got a throttle down the bottom here. So we've actually got how it should be, so it doesn't have the altitude hold. This application does have altitude hold, so it'll pop that up to the middle, and as soon as I press that, it'll take off, which is exactly what it did before. If I press it again, it drops straight off again, so that's the way you should fly it with the altitude hold off, I would recommend, and it flies absolutely fine. It's actually really nice on it. Actually, it gets a little bit of a move on in high rates with the app. It's a lot better than a lot of them.
So what do I think of it? Well, I quite enjoyed it actually. Flies really nicely. It's pretty smooth, and the rates are pretty good. It's no racer. I mean, they shouldn't use the term racing drone, even in racing style drone. I don't even think it would go that far. The lens on it was really good, and I thought the video, for the money you're paying for it, I think the video is pretty damn good. I've seen a lot worse off more expensive ones, that's for sure. And I love the wide angle lens, that worked really well. LEDs were pretty bright, they worked pretty good, and didn't have any issues. Had a couple of incidents around the garden as you do, and there's nothing actually broken on it or anything, so it sort of bounces pretty well too. And the onboard storage was very good, so I think the whole setup's pretty good for what it is. Obviously the app made me a little bit anxious, got the old heart rate going up there, and but if you know it's gonna take off, then just hold the throttle off when you turn it on, or just use one of the other apps of it's not unworkable, to be perfectly honest. This thing's really geared to work on this transmitter, and this is a nice transmitter. This flies really well. The controls are nice and easy to use, and I quite like the fact it hasn't got the altitude hold on, because sometimes bad altitude hold is worse than not having it at all, and it does fly reasonably well. The only thing I would say is, and this is from a guy that I fly an awful lot and an awful lot of quads, so as a beginner you'd probably think the throttle and everything was fine. I think think, you know, for what it is, I've had other quads around this area of pricing that have more kick out than this one does. This one doesn't, but then it's got the lens and everything else it does differently. So they're all very different. You can't, there's no one quad at 30 quid that's the best and beats every other one, and there never will be, because there's always little differences between them. So I really liked it, really enjoyed it, and yeah, I should get the battery charged up now for another play.